Serious. Dark web users, was there ever a point in your use that you felt you were genuinely in danger? What happened? Story 1. Came across a Chan-style site. Every post was about trains. Wouldn't say I felt in danger, but I felt so out of the loop that I was missing something that I just got off. Story 2. Had a buddy who used to order weed. The distributor got busted and the postal service let him know there was a suspicious package for him. He could either pick it up or it would be destroyed. Story 3. I own a fairly rare car that had a rare error code. I looked it up on Google and there was only one other person on the car maker's forum that had the same error. And this guy took months and months going back and forth between car shops and the forum thread to try to get the issue fixed. Everyone on the forum was pitching in to try to help him. So I kept going through this long forum thread to try to figure out if he ever fixed it. And suddenly, there's no more replies from the guy. Everyone was scratching their heads for a while. We thought he had maybe gotten the issue fixed and didn't bother to update us on it. Then one day, a news article popped up about a really rich guy who died in a Thai jail cell. And then we connected the two stories and they matched up. The same make and model of the car in the news article matched up with his car, and they were both claiming to be in Thailand at the time. So what happened was that the same guy who was still talking on the forums got raided by the Thai police around the same time he stopped replying to the forum. Turns out he was running one of the biggest dark web marketplaces where drugs were being sold and exchanged. It had something like $1 million in revenue per day, and he was hiding out in Thailand while living in luxury. They found him dead in his jail cell a few days later. They claimed he died of self-termination. I suppose you're talking about Kazay's founder of Alphabet. The dude was stupid enough to use his real email ID, the one he was using for LinkedIn and all legal businesses, taxes, etc., to send welcome messages to people who signed up on the website. I'm too scared to actually even think about looking at the dark web, but I feel like not using your real email is like tip number 1. Sounds like he had fun while it lasted, though. Story 4. So I had ordered many times on the dark web, but one day I decided to place a rather large order of XTC pills from Europe to the USA. I had a terrible feeling in my gut after the order was placed and actually had some serious food poisoning or something that night, LOL. Cut to weeks later, I ended up getting arrested for the pills and entered in the worst time of my entire life. Story 5. Not dark web, but I used to work for a disabled guy. He'd been pretty badly disabled for 20 years and spent most of his time gaming and watching films. He was there early on when torrenting/file sharing started. He even said that he'd topped some lists of most prolific downloaders worldwide in the early days. Could be bragging, I don't know. He told me he'd only ever had any issues once. He downloaded a film for his kids, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He was in the habit of checking every film before he let his kids watch, but didn't this time. Just hit play. He looked up at the screen after a minute or so to see a Snow White-themed CP video playing. 1 woman, 7 kids, etc. He didn't go into details or say how much his kids saw, just that he freaked out, exited the file, and then went to the bathroom to throw up. Story 6. I don't know if it's the dark web, but accidentally came across a website that was basically just P-Hub, but for gore. I saw a couple seconds of a man with his hands already chopped off, getting his face peeled off by some sort of cartel, and noped the frick out. I had to take a break from the internet for a couple of days. Dude, I've seen that video. Fricked me up for a while. Those screams got me bad. Yeah, I don't know if y'all could tell when I was reading that, but I don't do well with gory stuff. Skin getting peeled, nope, I hate it. I hate it so much. Story 7. The only real difference between the internet you and I are using right now and the dark web is that you need special software or configurations to access it. You have plenty of opportunities to find bad crap on the regular web. With that in mind, I'd say that the regular web is more dangerous since it lulls you into a sense of security. I mean, most people these days have a significant amount of their personal information on there. The dark web, you're likely going to have a sense of being more anonymous. Personally, I just used it for playing a WoW private server back in the day since the hosts didn't want to get a C&D from Blizzard. The ClearNet is totally more dangerous. Most people don't use Tor to browse it, so they're missing out on an incredibly powerful protection tool. Story 8. One time I got twice the amount of drugs that I actually ordered, was paranoid for about 2 hours, and then I just got really high and it was fine. Once a friend ordered a sample pack of 10 pills from a new vendor and got 1,000 pills shipped. Everyone who ordered got this surprise. This led to friends' devastating addiction to Xanax, which led to black tar, and M, which led to a rock bottom that you only read about. He's been clean and off the dark web for 4 years now, though. Story 9. I once bought a bit of weed and I received a blackmail letter threatening me with awful things like sending CP and calling the police if I didn't send one bite, $1,000 at the time. I was scared crapless, but nothing ever happened. Always check the reviews before buying anything. Dang, boy should have invested in Bitcoin. See, that's why the dark web just terrifies me. Call me a coward, but I don't see any benefits outweighing the risks. Story 10. A friend of mine used to use Silk Road on the dark net when Bitcoin was $10 a pop. He placed at least 100 orders through it and never had any issues. It's a shame he didn't keep all the Bitcoin he bought because he would have been a millionaire now. I'll never forget when BTC jumped from 13 to 150 over a few months. Story 11. I've used the dark web once or twice. Scariest thing was when my screen went black for a few moments and turned back on. Wasn't anything big, just my display cable fricking up, but it did give me the creeps. As for dark or disturbing crap, I've only found a list of random addresses. The dark web really has a lot of stigma associated with it. For the most part, it's just people curious about the dark web or people trying to scam you or sell you drugs. You have to do a lot of looking to find the really fricked up stuff. You're more likely to find dark web type crap on Reddit or YouTube than the actual dark web. Story 12. In college, some friends and I ordered a 100 sheet of acid using Bitcoin to our college P.O. boxes. We got pretty terrified when it didn't arrive when it should have. We thought it was found by USPS, our own mail service, or the DEA. We were paranoid. Turns out they just shipped it later than they said. We got our 100 tabs, but that was a very stressful week and a half for all of us. I might have been one of those friends, haha. I feel like this happened to quite a few people. Whatever happened to just buying illegal drugs from a guy in a trench coat in a sketchy alley, huh? Why do you have to involve the internet and mail and stuff? Where's the mystique of it all? Story 13. I was trying to buy those super cool laser pointers and I got a random message saying, "I know where you live." I noped out of that site straight away. Not drugs, not a fake passport, a cool looking laser pointer. Respect. Story 14. Accidentally stumbled upon some CP once. Noped out pretty fast, but was still worried for weeks the FBI would come after me. The worst thing is, you can stumble across that crap on regular adult entertainment sites too. I've stumbled across some pics once on one of the more well-known sites, and there was no freaking visible option to report it. I don't think I've ever been so disgusted in my entire life. Story 15. Everything feels government-owned. I used to frequent drug sites. They would go down for weeks at a time, then pop up again and have weird prices. Sellers were different. It made the dark web feel like a labyrinth more than a ruleless wasteland. Story 16. I was a casual user of the dark web for a while and got pretty big into it and started buying slightly bulky packages of drugs. If you knew the markets for a while, then you would know one called Alphabay was the best of the best. The Amazon of drugs and fraud would be its best description. However, it went down mysteriously one day and everyone assumed the owners just scammed everyone for their Bitcoin, partially true. But in the background, it was actually seized by the DEA. Everyone flocked to a new site called Hansa, which had some sketchy design features, but it was the next best alternative. Turns out the Dutch police took over the site and with cooperation of multiple governments ran a drug distribution onion site with over $1 million of transactions for around a month. They were gathering information from unsuspecting users, including me, who bought with faulty security practices. Now this is where I started freaking out, imagining trafficking drugs through the mail, and the Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, makes a speech live on television that he was going to crack down and explicitly explain how fricked everyone on Hansa was because they have been gathering data for over a month. And in a big dong energy move, closes the site and puts up a banner in its place saying everyone who has purchased will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law during his live speech. I was crapping myself for a month as many arrests did occur, but luckily, I guess I wasn't important enough and nothing happened to me. I feel anxious just reading that story, and I stick to strictly legal pleasantries. I am paranoid enough that I'm going to get arrested for some unpaid parking ticket or something. I feel like if I just downloaded a dark web browser, I wouldn't sleep for a month. Story 17. My friends and I were once ordering some green off the dark web. On the way, we saw a dude selling cyanide. Don't ask me how I got it. Don't tell me what you'll use it for. Violation of either condition will void the sale. Okay, I mean, honestly, that's super easy to get in comparison to a lot of things. I'm pretty sure I could find some regular websites online that would send it to me if I claimed to be a biotech lab or the likes. Story 18. Be safe, boys and girls. Don't give out your information or communicate with others. And if you plan on purchasing anything, use a secure Linux OS like Tails. Use private keys. Connect to a public Wi-Fi spot, not your house. Encrypt all messages. Use multi-signature markets so your chances of losing your Bitcoin lessens. Escrow preferably. Never send your Bitcoins from a wallet attached to you directly to the seller. Tumble your coins first. And when the package arrives, don't open it for a few days. A friend of mine gave me all this info and told me I should help you guys out. I don't know what half of what I just read means. I am out of my depth here. Story 19. Every time, remember that the person you just bought drugs from knows 1. Your address, 2. That you have drugs in your house, 3. There's probably evidence of dark web use in your finances/computer/trash. They can rat you out with impunity just because they're feeling malevolent. They could also just get caught and be careless with destroying ex-customer information, so it hangs over my head to this day. Story 20. Not the modern dark web, but back in the days of Usenet, I posted some harsh criticism in alt-religion Scientology. Yes, there was a typo for Scientology, but I'm leaving it in the context of a bunch of posts. The online threats were funny, but when I started getting death threats by mail, I backed the frick off. I posted a bunch of criticism of the COS and the Usenet group alt.religion.scientology. This was in the late 90s and well before most modern forums and content aggregators like Reddit existed. Fark was the big one and Dig was just starting to get popular. I was in high school for non-Americans grade 9 to 12. I was in high school and was using my home computer as an FTP server for a Juarez group on IRC because I convinced my dad to sign up for a 90-day free trial of this new thing called broadband. I had 3 megabytes per second download and 1.5 megabytes per second up. Of course, we never canceled it. They figured out who I was by using a cute FTP vulnerability to get root directory access to my PC. The death threats were bad enough, but what really sticks with me is the malice of deleting my family photos, including the last picture of us with my dad while he was alive. I was the typical invincible-feeling young adult, and I was more concerned about worrying my mom than I was about my own safety. This was long before doxing was a thing, and online threats going from email to handwritten letters was terrifying, but as a high school kid, I never would have admitted it. Nobody asked, but if I was confronted in person, I would have fought back. 18 years later, if they really held a grudge and threatened me again with the same malice expressed in those letters I got, I would open the door with a gun in hand if they tried to get in. I would assume that they were intending to kill me and shoot first. This is a serious post, so as funny as it would be to accept the previous statement with the autocomplete error crap first, I fixed it. Yes, Scientology is a dangerous type of cult, and unless you are prepared to go full Inquisition and burn them all at the stake, it's better to stay far away. They have killed and will kill to protect their organization. There was a lot going on in that story, but now I'm afraid of the old school dark web and a little more scared of Scientology. I've always been a little scared of them ever since Tom Cruise was jumping on Oprah's couch like a lesser demon. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 21. There's hitmen, human trafficking, and snuff films and such, but a vast majority of these sites are scams asking you to send them Bitcoin. A small portion of users on the dark web would be there for this sort of stuff. However, buying drugs online is quite popular and widespread. Single vendors can have $500,000+ in lifetime sales. It's quite safe to use. You use PGP to encrypt your address so only the seller of the drugs has access to your private info. If your package is seized, LE have no proof you ordered it unless they seize your computer and you have that information stored on it. You can use Tails/USB to avoid this. Even if your packages get seized, you'll often get a love letter saying what they seized and there is no follow-up after that. Story 22. Don't frequent it a lot, but once I accidentally left my browser in full screen and a stranger in a chat room asked me if my curved monitor was nice. Freaked me out a bit. I was once in an anonymous chat room with a made-up name and all that. A guy DM'd me and asked what it's like to live in the city I did. I noped the frick out of there. See, people keep talking about how the dark web is super encrypted and anonymous, but I keep seeing these stories. That does not feel anonymous. Story 23. Webcam turned itself on once. That was scary. I immediately unplugged it and my network cable ran 3 complete scans of my system for malware and viruses. Found nothing. Hasn't happened since. A bit of electrical tape over the camera pinhole works wonders. Story 24. I found a chat room advertised as true free speech platform, all political opinions welcome to discussion. I thought I could go there to debate with Nazis who were willing to say whatever they want without repercussions. It was really just a place to post CP. Nothing but CP. Every user was sending links to 3 or 4 pictures at a time or commenting on pictures the rest of them sent. There were dozens of users. I disconnected my laptop from the internet and deleted my Tor browser. This breaks my freaking heart. Story 25. I've never personally felt I was in actual danger, so to speak, since I take proper precautions, but early on I did accidentally come across a site/forum while exploring that was filled with snuff photos of women people had assaulted and then knocked out or killed. Shut down my browser pretty quickly after that, but felt uneasy for a long time after. I hope that any of you watching this video who were thinking of using this crap take these last couple stories to heart and realize it isn't worth going onto the dark web where you might encounter stuff posted by monsters. It isn't just a fun place to buy fun stuff, it's effing gross. Story 26. I actually learned how to access the dark web by listening to NPR. They had a segment where an author who was writing a book about it basically gave step-by-step instructions on how to do it. I did everything he said, and by golly, it worked. Truthfully, it was pretty underwhelming, mostly just drugs and counterfeit items, passports, money, etc. I did find some weapons with the serial numbers scratched off, pistols and shotguns, but nothing that would start World War III. I also saw a couple ads for hitmen, but they seemed pretty hokey and were most likely undercover cops. I never felt in danger, but I have never gone back because there's nothing I really want from there. No government agents have kicked down my door either. Story 27. The scariest moment for me was when I stumbled upon a creepy ARG and thought it was something much more sinister until I found out it was just an ARG. The dark web isn't really that scary. It has been romanticized and exaggerated by creepypastas, TV shows, etc. I know stuff like the Red Room and CP exist on the dark web. It's just that it's not that common. Most are scams or require a membership. The common user won't find much, but you will find something really off-putting if you dig enough. I don't care. It's just not worth the risk to me. Also, I don't know what I would want from there. I just want memes, cat videos, and the latest season of The Witcher. Story 28. You don't just stumble onto the scary parts of the dark web. You have to be looking for something sinister if you happen to come across one of the sites. Even then, getting access to said sites isn't as easy as most of them are invite-based. Most of it is just the normal internet with questionable forums, think 4chan but slightly worse, and petty drugs. It's very hard to reach the criminal parts of the dark web unless you have very specific URLs, and even then, the host has the option to deny you access. However, once you're in, it can become a slippery slope. I'm willing to bet 99% of the sites you just stumble across while browsing the dark web that talk about scary things such as hiring hitmen, money laundering, hacking, whatever, are just there for shock value. There are several such sites on the first page of Onion link lists that have been up for years. If they were real, law enforcement surely would have been able to track them down by now. Story 29. The idea that the dark web is an extremely shocking and dangerous place is largely inaccurate. It's mostly weird libertarian blogs and very sterile Amazon-type websites for drugs, complete with reviews of different vendors. I remember my friend showing me where he bought his drugs online and seeing how well kept and formal it was. Like I said, it really was just an Amazon-type website for drugs with friendly and thorough reviews. Even saw it read at the top something along the lines of, "Website name moderators will never ask for your password." I was pleasantly surprised to say the least, haha. Story 30. Not really a dark web user, but I got doxxed by a neo-Nazi group on the dark web and ended up having to use the dark web to find the websites that had my information. Department of Homeland Security and the FBI showed up on my doorstep because they were threatening to send me letter bombs and send people to abduct and R me. It was scary crap. They all fell off the face of the earth recently, so I'm just hoping the feds got to them. I hope everyone who saw this took this as a reminder to not frick with people and mind yourself online. Scary world out there, man. Scary crap. They all fell off the face of the earth recently. They found a new person to torment. See, a few stories saying how it isn't actually that scary, then someone who isn't really a big user gets doxxed by neo-Nazis. I don't know what to believe, so I choose fear. Story 31. Religious Silk Road and CMC user here. I used to get the stuff delivered to my dorm, but the package didn't come directly to my room. I had to pick it up from my dorm building office. For my third or fourth order from Silk Road, I got an email saying that a package had arrived for me, but when I went to pick it up, I was told by a RA that my package was in the DOR's office. I was freaked out. I also, for some reason, was getting a lot of spam calls, which added to my anxiety. I was scared crapless. I didn't go to pick it up for like 4 days and kept getting emails from the DOR to come pick it up. I didn't go because I thought that it was a setup. But after a couple days, I said frick it because I had paid a lot of BC for that order, so I went to pick it up. It was literally nothing. The people holding on to my order couldn't have been nicer. They couldn't give me a reason why that package was delivered there and not to my dorm. So I just kept ordering more, LOL. The package was usually delivered by USPS Priority, which is run by the federal government, and I went to a state university. So technically, the federal government transported illegal goods to the state government for me. Laugh my butt off. Story 32. Not dark web, but mid-90s web. I was 12, and obviously puberty was in control. These were chat room days. Kid I was acquainted with, an Eagle Scout nonetheless, had all these floppy, and I mean floppy disks full of adult images from some butthole supposedly in Texas. Me and a few other friends were over puberty, so were eager to see naked women. It soon turned a quick turn with girls that were likely my age. I immediately noped the frick out and never really talked to the kid again. But knowing the Boy Scouts, I wasn't getting involved, but I was like 13 and didn't even want to tell my mom I was interested in women. I regret that day a lot. I should have called the police. Sadly, I just compartmentalized it. 1996 was weird. And I mean floppy. Also, frick that, yeah. Story 33. No, but a woman in my hometown hired a hitman on the dark web to kill my neighbor. Thankfully, she was arrested, and it was prevented. Story 34. Someone who isn't me was on a drug marketplace once where H, crack C, sometimes PCP is listed, but if you're experienced, you don't even bat an eye. What that person did see once were pills pressed from the residue powders that ostensibly covered the press. These included mixtures of M, fentanyl, Xanax, Molly, amphetamines, GHB. Crap is scary because you have no idea what exact ratios the mixture will be composed of, and with heavy-hitting, high OD potential drugs like fentanyl, everyone wouldn't be surprised if that particular listing led to multiple overdoses. This is the craziest crap in here, be it sounds real. Just something someone who wants money would sell and not care if it was safe. I'm such a boring old stoner because I am super concerned about safe, regulated, legal versions of the devil's lettuce. Anything else, and I'm like that kid in grade school who always wore button-up shirts and says, "My mom told me," a lot. Story 35. I occasionally check my spam mail folder, so I found an email with one of my passwords as the subject. It totally got my attention. On reading it, it said he was able to get into my laptop by installing a malware last time I visited a adult entertainment site, and has a few videos of me that he captured from the last 15 days, including a masturbating video, which he will forward to everyone on my contacts if I don't pay him some $2,000 of Bitcoin. I was sweating for 10 minutes before I decided to check. I have a bad memory, so I save all my passwords in the browser. On checking, it was the previous password which was mentioned in the subject mail. On checking HIBP.com, I realized the Yahoo service was exploited some 2 months back, and this guy might have got the password from there. Anyway, there's no point in negotiating with a blackmailer. He will just send another email with more money next time, so I let it go. I never received another email like that again. Yes, this is an infamous scam email that has been around for years. I got the same thing the other day. Story 36. Not really, it's just sometimes some creepy crap on the dark web forums. I've seen more disgusting things on 4chan, to be honest. Other than that, you have to be specifically searching for that crap, and even then, it's hard as F. There is no one search engine, but many. And with different results, the dark web is generally dull. Most of the sites just for dealing drugs. Other than it's dull. It's not to say there is not some interesting site on there. Story 37. The dark web isn't that bad. It's still mostly just normal stuff and occasional criminal stuff or scams like hitmans or whatever. Murder, debauchery, torture, those things can be found on the surface web easily. Live leak and specific gore sites aren't hard to find. Story 38. I never felt in danger using the darknet, but I did almost lose everything to it. I started in the Alpha Bay days, then Dream, and eventually Empire, which to my knowledge is still operating to this day. I ordered everything and anything, mainly out of curiosity. I wouldn't say I had a problem with anything in particular until the day I ordered Crystal M. Fast forward a few years later, and I was slamming it and using it daily. I almost chose M over my wife and 2 beautiful boys. And no one was the wiser, besides eventually my wife. No one at work knew for the most part. I was good at hiding my use, although I feel like I would have been caught eventually. 69 days sober today. I still struggle, but life is better. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.